friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor if you're new here. I am a mom of 3. I have a 3-year-old daughter Hannah and twin boys Walker and Weston who are 13 months old. I'm doing a twin series right now on my channel. I already made a video about my pregnancy and their delivery story, so if you haven't seen that, go check that out. Today's video is going to be about breastfeeding twins and my top 5 tips on how to make it through the first year. A little backstory before we get into the tips is going to be my daughter Hannah. When she was born, I planned on breastfeeding. I was not very successful. I had trouble from the very beginning. She didn't latch, had to use a nipple shield. She ended up developing jaundice a few days after she was out of the hospital, and she also had some significant weight loss, so they did recommend that I went ahead and started supplementing her with formula, and I was disappointed, but I just went ahead and did it. I ended up developing mastitis twice within these 6 weeks that I actually nursed her. Mastitis is a breast infection. For those who don't know, it makes you have like flu-like symptoms. I had like 103 fever, felt so bad. It hurts, turn red, it's awful. But I had that twice, and I just decided, I did have a kidney stone 2 weeks after I had her, so I was just really having a hard recovery. So I just decided that it was best that I just stopped, and that was what I decided. She's perfectly fine. She had great on bottles. We were able to get her on a schedule at 4 months. I was totally happy with that decision, although I wish I would have tried a little bit harder, but it is what it is. It's okay. She's fine, and there's nothing wrong with bottle feeding, nothing wrong with formula. But if you are expecting twins and you would like to know how I did it the first year, I'm still nursing at 13 months, but how I did it the first year, then stick around. So number 1 is going to be a strong mental game. So what I mean by this is that I wanted from the very beginning to nurse, so I had it in my head that I'm going to do it. I had a lot of people tell me like, oh, you need to be prepared in case you aren't able to do it. Are you sure you're going to be able to breastfeed too? And I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm gonna do it, and that's just gonna be the way it is. I didn't bring out the bottles from Hannah. I didn't bring out like the old bottles. I just left them in the storage container. I'm like, I'm not gonna need those because I'm gonna breastfeed. And I did everything I could to prepare myself mentally for that. And I looked up, and it is possible. Like all these people I found on YouTube who talked about it, and I learned some different like positions or different like tips on how to be successful like this one. I also, a big part of it was prayer. I was asking God, please, this is something I really want. Please help me nurse these babies. And he so answered that prayer. I was able to nurse exclusively until I still nurse, like I said, so I'm still nursing. But strong mental game is really important. Number 2, that's gonna be pumping. So this is kind of here or there. Maybe some people don't agree with it. It did cause some hard on me, some challenges on me because I was overproducing, but I was making enough milk, and that's what matters to me. So I, from the very beginning, I had if you haven't seen my delivery story, I had a C-section at 33 weeks, 5 days. And it was an emergency C-section, and they took the babies away to the NICU right away since they were so early. And I started pumping as soon as I got back to my room. I was on a magnesium drip, so I couldn't get up and go see them and try to nurse or anything. And they were under lamps and all this stuff anyway, hooked up to all this stuff. And they were doing tube feedings for them. With donor milk and colostrum. I was able to almost provide all their milk for them. They did have to have some donor milk, which I'm so thankful for, but mostly it was me. So I started pumping every 2 hours for 20 minutes, and they did provide a pump there in the hospital. It was a Medela, and it was great. I was able to pump quite a bit. I mean, colostrum, I kind of didn't know it was a lot. It didn't seem like a lot because I never pumped like in the beginning with my daughter. I just nursed, and she wouldn't nurse very long, and I know their stomachs are so tiny and they don't need much, but when you look at it, you're like, this isn't that much, but it's a lot for them. So we'd send that. I'd be so proud with my little vial or syringe, and my husband would take it down to the NICU because I couldn't leave yet, and he would deliver it, and he said the nurses would always be impressed with the amount, and that made me feel so good, you know, like, because you just feel kind of like a failure sometimes when you aren't able to breastfeed. I know I did, and it's okay to not breastfeed, but that's something I really desired, so I really felt it was such an affirmation that I can do this. So I continued that every 2 hours for 20 minutes while they were in the NICU. At night, I went every 3 hours. I would set a timer when I went home, but I continued that, and by like 2 weeks, I was pumping probably like 10 ounces between both breasts in 10 or 15 minutes. It was insane. I mean, I was just constantly engorged. I mean, I was just producing so much milk, and I'm really, really thankful for that. I ended up having like over 100 ounces in the freezer by the time they were 2 weeks old. When they were, Walker was in the NICU for 11 days and Weston 9 days, and they actually sent milk home from the NICU, like a lot of milk home. They even they sent a lot home, and then they called me and they said, I'm so sorry, we found actually an extra bag of milk. We just have never seen somebody produce this much milk here. So that was just so encouraging and exciting little victory. But yes, so pumping every 2 hours for 20 minutes was, from the beginning, I believe, was a big factor in my supply. And it did, like I said, cause some issues, so I ended up having to kind of diminish that, just kind of drop one extra, because I would nurse and pump. I wouldn't bottle feed them, really. I mean, they got some bottle feedings in the NICU so they could measure the amount that they were getting, but really it's when you're wanting to just nurse, pumping is kind of useless unless you want to be able to get away, which I wish I would have kept pumping a little bit so I could have, I mean, I had a stash, but that way I would have the ability to try to have them keep, at least be able to take a bottle so I could leave. But yes, pumping, big part of it. And now I don't pump at all because I diminished down. I just kept dropping pumping sessions and getting it longer and longer apart. I don't recommend just stopping because you could possibly get mastitis or get engorged so bad. It's just so painful. Number 3 is gonna be drinking and eating a lot. So drinking water is one of the most important things you can do when you're breastfeeding, especially twins. I should have brought it up here. I have like a ginormous water bottle that's 64 ounces that I got, actually not in the beginning, but recently. That's from Walmart, and it's like an insulated one, and I drink at least 2 of those a day, and I just try to drink as much water as I can. I didn't worry about it. I didn't stress about it. I like water. I like ice cold water, and I like to drink it through a straw a lot. So I just, whatever cup you drink the most water out of, that's what you get. You buy it. It doesn't matter if it's $50. Think about how much you're saving breastfeeding those babies versus buying formula. So just get whatever you need to be able to be successful. Drink as much water as you can. Lots and lots of water. And when you're breastfeeding, if you've breastfed one, you know that you're very hungry a lot. Well, imagine 2. So I was fairly hungry during my pregnancy, but I was just thinking that it was going to get better when I stopped. I don't know why I thought that, because I knew breastfeeding made you hungry. Anyway, so when I was breastfeeding so much and pumping so much, I mean, I was just having to eat constantly. It didn't matter if I had, you know, this huge meal with really satisfying like proteins and carbs and just all this stuff just to keep you full and energized. And I was hungry like 30 minutes later. It's just it's annoying actually, because It's just frustrating to have to constantly eat. But I did one really big bonus of breastfeeding twins. I gained 25 pounds during my pregnancy, and I lost all of it plus 5 in 2 weeks. So I did gain a little bit of it back, but I'm starting to kind of go up and down a little bit because of kind of trying to wean has kind of had this weird effect on me and my weight. It's been really weird. But yes, so eating and drinking a lot. I still eat a lot. I'm ready kind of for that hunger to kind of stop, because it's, like I said, very frustrating. But you need fuel to feed those babies. Number 4 is going to be prepared that you may not get a break for a while. Be prepared for there always to be somebody on you, kind of attached to you, not being able to kind of get away. This again goes back to like training them how to take a bottle. Keep that if you can, because it kind of drives me, especially being a stay-at-home mom, it can kind of drive me insane to never be able to get away. The night times, you know, they're still not sleeping through the night, even at 13 months, and it's rough, and I truly believe it's because they're breastfed. I know some people can put them on a schedule and they're like, the schedule is the best, which we had a schedule with my daughter. She was formula fed, and at 4 months we had her on a specific schedule. It was life-changing. It was amazing. And we just didn't do that with the twins. I tried to do it several different times, but they just would not do the same thing at the same time. They just wouldn't. They just couldn't get on the same schedule. So if anybody is a twin mom and you got your kids on a schedule, please say how you did that. And so the new moms can get some advice, because I don't have any advice for you there. The first 2 months are the hardest with this, with not getting a break. I felt like for the beginning, it was just so hard to not ever get time when they weren't nursing. It's just very, very hard, and it's hard on your mind. I struggled with postpartum anxiety a few months after. A few months postpartum, and I would get anxious about all sorts of stuff, and just the fact that I couldn't get away made me anxious. So it's important to even take those little victories of just going away for an hour or whatever, but it's hard when your life is revolving around the schedule of breastfeeding and there's not an actual schedule. It's just whatever they want to nurse. But I will say it's been totally worth it. Looking back, I mean, the convenience of not having to worry about, hey, how many bottles do I have to take? The convenience of not having to worry about how are we going to pay for all this formula? The convenience of not having to wash bottles. I mean, that was a lot of work for one baby. I can't imagine two. So it's really been, the benefits to me definitely outweigh the non-benefits. No, that's not the word for it. Pros versus cons. The pros outweigh the cons. That's what we're gonna go with. But yeah. So number 5 is gonna be tandem feed. So if you don't know what tandem feeding is, it's like simultaneously feeding both babies at the same time. You can do this not just with twins, but like a baby and a toddler, or you know, whatever, two at once. So in the beginning, it kind of was intimidating because my babies were so little. They were 4 pounds. I was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna hold 2 babies and nurse them at the same time, because I really like the cradle hold. When I'm nursing one, I would hold and then kind of got water on myself, hold one this way. And so I was like, how am I going to do that with 2 babies? Well, okay, so first of all, you need to buy yourself a twin pillow, breastfeeding pillow. I got the twin deluxe BRESTFRIEND pillow. I'll link that down below. That was definitely life-changing. I liked how it went all the way around and hooked in. I've also heard really good things on like twin pages about the twin Z pillow. So definitely check those out. They are expensive, totally worth it. Again, think about how much money you're going to be saving and the health benefits of breastfeeding babies, especially preemies. It's invaluable. So I did tandem feed in the beginning. I did the football hold, so I'd have the pillow around me, and then I just hold them here and I kind of hold their heads, and it was hard to get them to latch with both of them, especially because I was having to use a nipple shield for the first couple months. They actually latched a lot easier than my daughter originally, but then they started having issues, so I did have to use a shield. So it was hard in the beginning, like when one would fall off or whatever, it was just kind of challenging, but just stick with it. Keep trying. I definitely used my resources like a lactation consultant in the hospital, and that really helped. You know, YouTube's a great resource, but just like keep trying. If it matters to you, keep trying. That's like the biggest thing, is just it will get better. It will get easier. The beginning is hard. So the tandem feeding, such an advantage to this is when those first few weeks, those first 2 months, like I was saying, their beginning, whatever, is really, really, really hard, because, you know, there's nights that they're just constantly wanting to nurse. Well, if you nurse one at a time, so you nurse one and then take forever to nurse when they're little, and you nurse one, you take them off, you put them down, you nurse the other one. Well, by the time the other one's done, guess who wants to eat again? The first baby. So it's just, you would be constantly nursing 24/7, and that's just exhausting to your body. I mean, it's just so hard on you. And it's hard when you're breastfeeding. Nobody else can help you. You know, nobody else can help you actually feed the babies. They can bring you water, they can bring you, you know, change the diapers. It's a lot on you. So just know that. But that tandem feeding helps, because then it knocks out a feeding, and then you get a little bit of sleep if they're not crying about something else. But it definitely helps. And then I actually stopped tandem feeding for a while, like for I probably stopped tandem feeding for like 6 months. They stopped using a shield just one day. They didn't want it. So it was a lot better after that too, much more convenient. Didn't have to wash anything, try to mess with latching, all this mess. It was better. I did have some pain, but I really recommend Earth Mama Angel Baby Nipple Buttercream. It's really, really awesome. My friend Jessica from Live Well Jess, she recommends that, and it's awesome. A few months ago, so they're 13 months now, a few months ago, they were having such trouble sharing nursing. So like when I would feed one, the other one would just scream their head off. Well, I'm at home by myself. I can't have somebody, you know, hold the other baby while I'm feeding the other one. So I just decided, I'm just gonna feed them both at the same time. So what I do is I sit one up on my leg on this side and then the other side, and I just lift up my shirt and let them nurse. So they nurse kind of like this, like sitting up, where they're kind of sticking out, and they just sit up and I don't have to do anything. I just sit there and they nurse, and that's been great. That has saved me a lot of time. Again, they can nurse in 5 or 10 minutes. In public, it can be harder. I do have to use, I have a nursing cover that is like the multi functional one, the one that can go like around a car seat. It goes all the way around. So I kind of have, you see their heads, it looks like I have like massive boobs. It looks, or like I have my knees all the way up into my chest or something. It looks really weird, but I don't care. And because normally I nurse in public without a problem, because I would do the 2-shirt method where I lift up one shirt, pull down the other, and nurse, or I throw over like a muslin blanket or whatever. But with 2, it's just like impossible to maintain modesty. I don't feel comfortable lifting up my shirt and having, I'm not going to do that. That's fine if you want to, but I'm not going to do that. And so those are my 5 tips. Definitely recommend doing all those things. I definitely think that all of those benefited me and contributed to my success of being able to breastfeed for the entire year. That was my goal, to make it to a year. I set small goals like 3 months, 6 months, a year. You know, I try to have little goals and little victories. That really helps. One thing to think about, Mama, if you're watching this, if it doesn't work out, it's okay. If you try so hard and it just doesn't happen, sometimes your body just doesn't produce enough milk. You just can't. And there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes you can try, you know, all this different stuff. Don't worry. You're not a bad mom. You're not a failure. You didn't quit, you know, and it's okay to say, I quit. It's okay. It's all right. Don't feel bad. You do what you have to do for you and your baby. you know, the baby, as long as the baby is fed, you know, that, and everybody's happy. I mean, but if you want to breastfeed, by all means, try your very hardest. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more twin content, then make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.